This is part 5 in this YouTube series where I am working to convert this RPG game into this pseudo 3D racing game. In the last episode, I added a splash screen, a title screen, and a game over screen to the game. The focus of this episode will be the humble beginning of a UI to the game, focusing first on simple text menus and navigation. Graphical interfaces are not easy to create, and there are some existing libraries out there if you prefer. This series is more about learning how to build things yourself, so I will just show one method of doing this. It will not be groundbreaking or feature-rich, but it will provide you good control over the UI and how it works. To begin, I will create a new menu package. First, I need a menu struct to hold the menu items and the current selection. Each menu item will have a label, which is the text to display, and a function to call when the item is selected. I will also enumerate the scene names to make it easier to reference them. The menu will need both an update method and a draw method. I will start with the update method. There will be a little bit of redundancy here, but for now, I just want it easy to read and understand. I first want to check if the user has pressed the up or down arrow keys. For the down arrow, I will play a sound effect and increment the current selection index. For the up arrow, I will play a sound effect and decrement the index instead of incrementing it. Finally, the update method will check if the user has pressed the enter key. If so, it will call the function associated with the current menu item. This keeps the update method simple and focused on input handling, while allowing the menu items to handle their own actions, which will be different for each scene. The draw method will be responsible for rendering the menu items to the screen. It needs to know an X and Y position to start drawing the menu items, a font face to use, and a color for the text. I first set a line height, some padding, and a max width for the menu items. These are just arbitrary values that work well for my game, and I will adjust them later. I plan to draw a rectangle around the selected menu item, so the player can visualize which one is currently selected. I want this highlight to be the same width for each menu item, so I will calculate the width of the text with text.measure. I will also measure the height of the text to get the height of the rectangle, and if the current index matches the selected index, I will draw the rectangle first. Lastly, I need to use text.draw to render the menu item text, positioning it in the center for now to keep it simple. This completes the menu package and its basic functionality. Since multiple scenes may use the menu, I add a menu field to the scene interface. I am going to start with the title scene, since it is the first scene the player will see. I first need to create a variable for the title scene instead of returning it directly. This will allow me to use the scenes fields in the menu's action method. Each scene will be able to define the menu items it wants to display, and what actions to take when the user selects them. For the title scene, I will create a menu with 3 items: New Game, Settings, and High Scores. I want each function to simply set the active scene ID to the appropriate scene, so my existing game update logic will handle the transition. This works quite well, and keeps the logic limited to the scene, and keeps the code readable. These new scene IDs do not exist yet, so I will need to add them to the scenes package. I also will set the index of this scene to the appropriate enumerated value from the menu package. Next, the title scene needs to draw the menu, so I will make a new method for that. It is a short method where I just position the menu in the center of the screen and call the menu's draw method. Since I am just using some hard-coded values for the menu's position, I will need to adjust these later to fit the game better, and it just takes a little trial and error to get the menu positioned correctly. Ideally, I would calculate the center of the screen and position the menu there, but I have several other hard codes and small things I am going to fix up in a later episode. Next, I am going to move the title scene's update method to its own file. Then, I just call the menu's update method, which will handle the input and call the appropriate action when the user selects a menu item. If I run it now, the game will panic. This is because I added a new sound in the menu package, but I did not initialize it in the scene. I am actually just using the existing sound, but giving it a different name. In your game, this might be a new, unique sound, but for the game to run in the GitHub repo, I am just using the existing sample sounds provided by Ebitengine. Taking things slow and step by step can help reveal all the things needed to get the game working. In this case, I realize I need several steps to add a new sound. In addition to adding it to the map of sounds, I also need to initialize it when my scene loads. I could initialize all the sounds when the game starts, but I am trying the approach of initializing assets only when they are needed, which is a common practice in game development to save memory and improve performance. Even here, I can see that I will want to loop and load all the sounds instead of doing them individually, but I can do that as a refactor later. When I run the game now, I can see the title screen with the menu items displayed and get into the settings menu, complete with sound effects. I fixed the panic due to the sound effects, but there is still a bug. In the update method, I removed the input handling that started the game, since that is now handled by the menu. However, when I run the game and trigger a game over, you are supposed to be able to press R to restart the game, but it only briefly flashes the title screen and then goes back to the game. This is because the game scene's update method is still being called, and it is resetting the active scene ID back to the game scene. To fix this, at the start of the update method, I set the default scene ID to this scene's ID, which is the title scene. Any input handling is now handled by the menu, and when I run the game again, I can restart just fine. It is a good idea to test your game frequently as you make changes to catch bugs like this early. While everything does appear to be working, I know that I need to create scenes for the additional menu items, so I will stub those out using the existing settings scene until I actually implement them. This also brings up a decision to consider: should each settings menu be its own scene, or is that overkill if the settings menu only has a few options and never draws anything other than text? I do not need to decide this right now, but I will need to consider it when I implement the settings menu. In the next episode, I will add some flair and polish to the title and game over screens. After that, then I will get into actually coding the car racing part of the game. Why spend so much time on all of this non-gameplay work? First, these small things make the game actually feel like a game, instead of just straight gameplay. The code is easy to maintain and extend, and it is a good foundation for the rest of the game.